So why is it some days you can come home from school and you're super motivated and you do hours of study and you can finish everything very easily? But other days when you get home from school, all you want to do is lie down and do nothing. Why is it video games are super, super fun and you're super, super excited to play them, but your homework is not as exciting, even though homework takes less brain energy than playing video games? Why is it we get addicted to things like drugs and alcohol or whatever? Why is it we can walk? So the answer to all these questions, why is it we procrastinate? The answer to all these questions lies in a molecule called dopamine. And when I understood dopamine for the first time, it connected everything together because you realize dopamine is the molecule of, technically it's the molecule of motivation, but actually it's the molecule of pursuit. Every time we pursue something, so every time we do a workout, homework, video games, anytime we do anything, dopamine controls it. Dopamine is the driver of whether you do something or don't do it. So for example, in someone with Parkinson's. Parkinson's is a disease where you lose movement, you lose brain ability, you slow down. And it's because of a deficit of dopamine. So dopamine is literally the molecule that makes you move. Every time you're pursuing something, it involves dopamine. So if you can understand dopamine and you can control it, then you can control your motivation, you can control your addictions, you can control what it is you want to do with your time. By the way, in the description, come join my free Discord server, meet like-minded people, come talk to me. We're having a great time in there. Go into the description, come join us in the Discord server. These are the concepts I've been learning from scientists such as Andrew Huberman and Anna Lemke. Anna Lemke wrote this book called The Dopamine Nation. So first of all, to understand dopamine, there's an analogy I want to give to you. So imagine a wave pool. You know, a wave pool is like when you go to a water park, there's a pool and everyone sits on like a raft on the pool, and the pool will start shooting waves, right? And people will ride the waves and stuff. So a wave pool is like the dopamine in your brain. So the water in the wave pool is the dopamine, and the waves are like the activities you do throughout your day. And the more pleasureful, the more stimulating an activity is, the more it'll peak your dopamine, the bigger the wave in the wave pool. So things like cocaine and drugs will have a huge wave. Things like video games, sugar, pornography will have a pretty big wave. Things like moving, exercising, doing work will have a tiny wave. And basically, if you have a ton of big waves in a row, so you do a ton of stimulating things in a row, a ton of very pleasurable things in a row, then the waves will be so big that the water will splash out of the wave pool and the dopamine in your brain will go down. So what can we take from this analogy? Basically, if you do a ton of really stimulating things, for example, let's say you go on the corn hub, multiple days in a row, or you eat sugar every day, you play video games every day, you're going to be shooting a ton of big waves into that wave pool, water's going to be splashing everywhere, and the water level is going to go down. So the equivalent in your brain is your dopamine is going to go down. And so let's say you continue this over and over. You go on the hub daily, you play video games daily, you go on social media daily. Well, your dopamine is going to go down and down and down and down until it's so low that you don't have motivation to do anything anymore. So the reason you don't have motivation to do your work, your homework, your workouts, you need to look at what you're doing throughout your day. If you're doing a lot of these high dopamine activities, then probably the water in your dopamine wave pool is very low. And that's why you have no motivation to do homework, no motivation to work out or work on your goals. But luckily, here's the thing. When your dopamine is low, it doesn't stay low forever. If you keep shooting big waves into it, okay, it's going to stay low. But if you stop shooting big waves into it, if you stop doing these highly stimulating, pleasureful activities for a while, for a few days, for a week, then your dopamine will start to replenish itself. Your body will start producing more. And eventually, the water levels will rise and go back to where they were before. And suddenly, your motivation for life, your motivation for doing everything will come back. So I want you to imagine this fake scenario. Let's imagine you got locked into a room. Let's say solitary confinement in jail. You get locked into a room, and all you have is you and your maths textbook for 30 days. What's going to happen in 30 days? In 30 days, you are going to be so bored in that room that you are going to study that maths textbook from beginning to end. The reason for this is dopamine. Because there's nothing peaking your dopamine so high, stimulating you so high, your wave pool is going to go up. And, the only thing that's going to give you that peak of dopamine, that's going to give you that feeling of pursuit, is this maths textbook. So you're going to study it because you've got nothing else to do. So the secret to how to get motivation, to how to beat procrastination, how to control all these things in your life is to control that wave pool of dopamine in your brain. So when your dopamine levels in your dopamine wave pool are very high, then more things in life will bring you pleasure. Simply like standing outside and enjoying the view, doing your homework, working out, all these things that normally wouldn't bring you pleasure do bring you pleasure if you've got a lot of dopamine in your system. Like I remember before smartphones came out, I used to sit on the toilet and I would just read the ingredients on the shampoo bottle because there was nothing else to do. So reading the shampoo bottle was giving me pleasure. So the reason you don't enjoy doing homework or working out or doing these hard things, it's simply a dopamine issue. If all throughout your day you're doing these high dopamine activities, scrolling on TikTok, the hub, eating sugar, playing video games, doing all these things, then the homework, the workouts are going to seem boring in comparison and you're not going to be motivated to do them. So the secret to getting your motivation back, because it is possible, the secret is to replenish your wave pool. Stop doing those high activities all the time and start doing the harder activities that only have a small wave. And over time, your pool will replenish itself to the point where you've got motivation to do these hard things. Now you might be thinking, oh bro, I can't get rid of TikTok. I can't get rid of my video games. I love doing these things. I love smoking weed every day. I love going on the hub. Life would suck without it. Well, there's this definition of addiction that I learned from the scientist Andrew Huberman. Basically, he says addiction is a gradual narrowing of the things that bring you pleasure. So if in your life, the only thing that can bring you pleasure is TikTok or Netflix or video games or something, then what brings you pleasure is so narrow that you have to accept that you are addicted. If this is the only thing that can give you pleasure in your life, then you are addicted. You're in that scenario where your dopamine wave pool is basically at zero. So the way to get out of this is to stop doing that thing, to do it much less, so that your dopamine wave pool will replenish itself. And suddenly all the things in your life that you find boring, you'll be motivated to do them again. Now I'm just going to give you a few quick tips of things that I've learned of how to actually bring back your dopamine much faster. So like I said, reduce those highly stimulating activities and increase the less stimulating activities. But there are actually health things you can do that will improve your dopamine. So one is sleep. If you get a lot of sleep, then it's going to replenish your wave pool much faster. The second thing is sunlight. If you get sunlight first thing in the morning as soon as you wake up, then it's going to improve your body's production of dopamine. This is what I learned from research online. And the final thing is you want to eat foods high in this nutrient called tyrosine. So tyrosine is required to produce dopamine. So if you eat foods high in tyrosine, then it's going to make your body produce dopamine faster. So tyrosine can be found in nuts, in dairy, in meats. Just search it up. One that I really like is Parmesan cheese. So I'll eat a lot of cheese if I want to improve my dopamine. But hopefully, take what I said in this video, use those last steps that I mentioned. Look for in your life, which activities you think are giving you high waves in your dopamine wave pool, and simply reduce them and increase the low wave activities. And you will find over time, your motivation for everything will come back. Like I said, addiction is a gradual narrowing of the things that bring you pleasure. So the opposite is an increasing of the things that bring you pleasure. That's the goal. You want everything in your life to bring you pleasure. Imagine if doing hard work was fun. Imagine if sitting down and doing nothing was fun. That's the goal of increasing the dopamine wave pool in your brain. So, hope this helped. See you later.